Question number one, and this was one of the cases from one of our customers this week in one of our branches. This was a 13-year-old Westie, West Highland Terrier on Royal Canin. And the dog had been itching like crazy for years. The dog has been on steroids for as long as they can remember, and the dog is really struggling, and they came to us referred from one of the dog groomers, and the dog was on Hill's before, Hill's Derm, and this food was recommended by the vet. So we went through the actual ingredients in the food, and we have been able to tailor the dog's diet so that the dog can hopefully get better. Why? Well, Royal Canin West Highland White Terrier, right? So the composition, the ingredients are horrible. You've got maize flour, you've got dehydrated poultry protein, which is very unspecific. We do not know what protein we are giving the dog precisely. Is it chicken? Is it turkey? Is it quail? What does poultry mean? Then we have rice, we have maize, we have animal fats. Again, it's anyone's guess which fats, which animals these fats come from. And then we have hydrolyzed animal proteins. We then have dehydrated pork protein, wheat and chicory pulp, and some other ingredients. And a lot of these ingredients are not suitable for any dog, let alone a dog with dermatitis or any dog that's biting their paws. The dog clearly has an allergy, and we do not know what we are giving the dog. So if we do not know what we are giving our dog, how are we meant to know what's causing the inflammation? So that's Royal Canin Westie, and the Hill's Derm Complete is no better actually. The ingredients are brewer's rice, we have dried whole eggs, which is okay, then we have digest, we have soybean oil, we have rice protein concentrate. I mean, rice protein concentrate, that has to be one of the cheapest forms of protein in the whole wide world. Why rice? Why use? Because it's cheap. I know it's cheap, and these manufacturers just want to make money. They don't care about your dog. I want you to know that. And then we have flaxseed, minerals, coconut oil, and again we have the animal fat. And we do not know what we are giving the dog. We are giving our dog a bunch of inflammatory ingredients and a bunch of unspecific and varying animal fats. From batch to batch, they will be different. They will be using different by the manufacturer, not pinning down what protein precisely they are going to use. They can just put whatever they want or whatever's more available at that particular time. So if you have a dog with an allergy, I would recommend you put the dog on a single protein food with plenty of omega-3s, anti-inflammatories, and make sure that the ingredients on the back of the bag are wonderful and they don't contain no brewer's rice and no digest and no rice protein concentrate. And more than anything, no animal fats and none of these nonsensical ingredients. So that is question number one. Question number two, how many dogs are kept on steroids due to preventable issues during so many years? And this is a comment we received over YouTube. And this is something we see all the time. How many dogs are just put on steroids, on cycles of steroids, month after month after month after month, nothing changes, but the dog is not getting better, the dog doesn't get any relief whatsoever from their condition, and these dogs are just put on Apoquel or other steroids forever, and no one ever speaks about the food, no one ever checks the food, no one ever suggests the food, and no one ever suggests any blood allergy samples or blood allergy tests, which is the way you can truly resolve if your vet or any other laboratory can run a test for you. That's the only way to pinpoint precisely what your dog is allergic to, and then you can actually identify what the dog is allergic to. But keeping the dog on steroids for years is so bad, because those tablets and those steroids are going to put unnecessary pressure in the dog's liver, and they are actually gonna cause more harm than good. So if your dog has been on steroids for so many years due to preventable stuff like allergies or things we can help with, please get in touch, because we can actually help, and he will save you a lot of money. Best food for an 8-month Maltese. Maltesers have no, unless your dog has a specific dietary requirement, you have 3 options, maybe 4, my friend. You have a dry, a kibble, a wet food, raw food, or freeze-dried food in this occasion. Now, what is the best food for an 8-month Maltese? You should look out for a food that's very rich in meat content and very low in carbohydrates. Any carbohydrates you feed the dog should come from, if possible, fruit and veg, and not inflammatory ingredients. So look for a food that does not contain maize or rice or wheat or barley or corn, and look for a food that's not unspecific, that doesn't contain any animal fats or doesn't contain any dehydrated poultry protein, for example. You want to look out for things that are freshly prepared free-range lamb, and then you know that that lamb has been pasturing and has been roaming around, and that's the lamb that has gone into your dog's food. And we then want to look for a food that's biologically appropriate for your dog. So always read the ingredients on the back, irrespective of whether you go for a dry, a wet, a kibble, a freeze-dried or raw food. You should always look on the back of the ingredients and try to keep it as natural as possible, and your Maltese will be wonderful, will do very well. Now, I wanted to do a little section on how to care for a senior dog, and there's a couple things I want to touch on. Now, my dog is now almost 9 years old and is a golden retriever and has been having some joint problems as of late in the past year or so. So I want to tell you what things we have been doing with the dog, and I hope you will be able to benefit from some of these tips. Now, the first thing I want to emphasize is that for any dog whatsoever, there's always 3 things that are key. 3 inputs, if you think about it: what the dog eats, what the dog drinks, and the levels of activity and the care you provide for the dog. And that is it, basically. Now, as dogs age, as animals age, as we age, we slow down. So if your dog is starting to slow down, the worst thing you can do is to leave the dog stationary for long periods of time. Take them out for walks. If the walks are slow but a bit longer, that would be very, very beneficial. We want to keep those joints mobile. We want our dogs to be healthy, and we want our dogs to be moving all the time if we can. Any joint that's just not moving, sedentary, that's not good for the dog. So levels of activity is definitely something I would look into for any senior dog. The second thing would be the supplements. I was very, very skeptical about supplements, and we started giving the dog some glucosamine and some other herbs, and they have actually really helped. So in terms of joints, the thing you want to look out for is glucosamine, chondroitin and glucosamine, and those are components in green lipid muscle. Now, you can buy tablets with glucosamine, or you can give the dog rabbit ears. Anything with cartilage will contain natural glucosamine, and that really does aid joints. So I would recommend a glucosamine tablet or glucosamine supplement for your dog, and those can come from the actual food you give the dog. So Levels of activity for a senior dog, very, very important. And the second thing would be a couple supplements for your dog to help those joints and to help maybe that gut, that stomach, if the dog has any stomach problems. And the last food I want to touch upon is the food. The food needs to be on point, just like in any sort of development age, life stage of the dog. The food has to be on point. Why does it have to be on point? Because the food really does matter when you are getting older. We have all heard the stories of the grandmother who only eats chips and tea, and they're not very, very healthy. We want to give our dogs the best possible food. What proteins? Well, we can give our dogs a lot of omega-3s. Those will be anti-inflammatory, they'll be anti-aging, and they will be highly digestible. Same with chicken, maybe something like turkey would do quite well as well in terms of meat. Try to keep the carbohydrates as slow as possible, like always, as always, and your dog should be with you hopefully for a very long time. My dog is now 9, and those are 3 steps that we have really taken care of, and those are 3 things that we have identified as very important. A couple supplements, the food needs to be on point, and the exercising needs to be on point. We don't want the dog to be sedentary. Now the dog has slowed down and wants to take more frequent naps, and that's okay. But when it's go time, we need to go for walkies, and that's just the law of the land. And your dog will be much better for it. So that is that. Embark Dog Grooming on Instagram. Thanks for the question. Being a natural feeder for many years, I prefer to give my dogs raw meaty bones. I don't feed horns or antlers, as one of my dogs suffered 2 canine tooth fractures. Thank you for the question, Embark Dog Grooming. Yes, raw meaty bones are wonderful. They are great sources. They provide the dental health your dog needs, or any dog needs. In terms of horns or antlers, accidents do happen, and it sounds like in your case they have happened to you twice, and that's not very good. But raw meaty bones are an excellent source of dental health. It's much better than giving the dog dentistics. It's much better than giving the dog any other dental treat that's manufactured by us, that contains potato starch, for example, like Whimsy's. I'm not a fan. Or giving the dog carrots or whatever. I prefer giving the dog raw meaty bones. It's what they are biologically designed to chomp on, and those canine teeth, those back teeth, are meant and are designed to crush meat and bone. So those are excellent choices for dental health. And things like antlers, anything that's natural, even though there is the possibility that your dog's tooth might chip or might need to be removed or fractured or whatever, my dog gets them all the time and the dog is okay. So anything natural is wonderful for dental health, and we are huge advocates. So yes, phenomenal. Cheryl from YouTube. Hi Cheryl. I am desperate to help my dog. He has been on Apoquel for 2 years. His symptoms are redness around eyes, hot spots, bumps all over his head, on his body, etc. He's a 3-year-old bull mastiff and now only has turkey and Eukanuba dermatitis FP biscuits. Now, thank you for your question, Cheryl. The first thing I want to say is that there are 3 possible causes for this allergy or for this dermatitis or for these symptoms. You have something that's nutritional, something in your dog's diet is not sitting very well with them. So that's why we always recommend people put the dog on a single protein food with a high meat content and low glycemic carbohydrates, because that always helps. The second thing could be a seasonal allergy during certain times of the year, pollen, dust mites, grass, it could be anything. and those tend to be manageable, and it's very helpful for you to be able to spot if that is more seasonal than recurring. And it helps a lot because you can actually prepare for it. And the third one is a litter specific or a breed specific. If your dog has been overbred, if your dog doesn't come from a very reputable breeder, if your dog doesn't come from the best healthy parents, then you are going to have that problem forever, unfortunately. In terms of Eukanuba dermatitis FP, so the pet food is Dermatosis FP dry adult dog food, and the ingredients are, the first ingredient is potato. So the first ingredient you are giving your dog is an inflammatory ingredient, is a starch. Dogs do not have any dietary requirement for carbohydrates. But the first ingredient you are giving your dog is potato. The second one is fish meal. The third one is poultry fat, which is unspecific. So Cheryl, you do not know what bird you are feeding your dog. And then we have dried beet pulp and fish gravy, and then some minerals. So in terms of protein, you are giving your dog 22% protein, which is extremely low, and you are giving your dog a buttload of carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates do not sit well with any dog whatsoever. One of the symptoms of pruritus, dermatitis, or any sort of allergy that manifests in the skin or ears or hot spots or whatever, it's because you're not giving the dog enough protein, or can be because you're not giving the dog enough protein to start with. So whenever we see potato as the first ingredient, my heart just sinks. Then we have poultry fat, which isn't specific. We do not know what animal we are giving the dog. And if we don't know what animal we are giving the dog, then we can't really address a problem. I would book a call with us and we will be able to help. Customer was feeding a bag of carrots per day, which is not the best idea. And I was in one of the branches the other day, and this lady was telling me that she feeds her dog a bag of carrots every day. And by the way, whatever you feed your dog, if you are happy with whatever you feed your dog, more power to you. I have no opinion, and you can do whatever you want. It is your dog. However, I am always, and we are always, willing to help people who are willing to listen. So if you are not someone who's willing to listen, then that's absolutely fine. I am not tribal whatsoever, and I'm not confrontational whatsoever. Now, if you are going to give your dog a carrot or two a week or whatever, that's fine. But a bag of carrots, a kilo of carrots per week, it's not the best idea. Dogs have no dietary requirement for carbohydrates whatsoever. Any vegetables you feed your dog are going to convert into sugar. And dogs, whilst they do secrete some glucokinase in the liver, they're not very well adept to convert those carbohydrates into sugar. So let's make sure that we are giving our dogs something that's a bit more biologically appropriate. And what costs more money? A bag of carrots, a kilo of carrots, or a kilo of meat? It's a kilo of meat, isn't it? So why don't we give the dog the meat instead of the carrots, the meat instead of the rice, the meat instead of anything else? So if you are trying to be clever because you think you are helping your dog with carrots, with broccoli, with this or with that, bear in mind that these vegetables are cheap for a reason, because they are abundant. And if you look at your dog's jaw, you look at your dog's teeth, those incisors, those canines, those canine teeth they are designed to crush meat and bone. They are not designed to chew on carrots. They're not designed to chew and to rummage like cows. So be mindful of what you do, because this is the sort of thing that really does cause problems in the long term. So that would be my advice. The did you know of the week: petting a dog can cause your blood pressure to drop around 10%. And according to the American Kennel Club, the blood pressure of the dog being petted drops as well. This is incredible because if you think about it, anytime you have had a bad day, or anytime you feel nervous, unsure, or anytime you feel fatigued with life, cuddling your dog or being next to your dog, it is scientifically proven that to be relieving and to be a good thing to do. So that's incredible that your blood pressure can drop about 10%, and so does your dog's. So that's wonderful. So yeah. Now, if you require a consultation and you want to speak to us, you can click in the link down below and you will be able to be helped by a member of our team. Thanks very much for watching. Send your questions down below and I will see you in the next one.